Yes, how are we all? I hope all is well. My name is Sachin, and this is the Total Cricket Podcast, episode 14. Now, just a quick heads up tomorrow I will be doing the 5 things we learned from the ICC Women's World Cup 2017, and my analysis of the final fits in very nicely into that, which is why you have not heard from me about the final yet, but do look out for that tomorrow. Let's get right into it now for today, and we're going to start with previewing the test series between India and Sri Lanka, the first test to start tomorrow at Galle. 3 match series, 5 ODIs, 1 2020. So a full tour India of Sri Lanka, and I certainly am looking forward to it. I'm going to start with Sri Lanka. Now, looking at the team, the squad that has been picked, a few changes have been made from the Zimbabwe test. Now, Dinesh Chandimal has been ruled out due to pneumonia he's had, although apparently he will be okay for the second test, which is good news. Herath will captain the side in this first game. So, again, more instability for Sri Lanka on the captain front. Definitely not ideal. Also, when you think about the actual vice captain is Upul Taranga, but Herath has been given the captaincy. So, again, this whole instability, a lot of uncertainty certainly around Sri Lanka. Definitely not ideal timing for Chandimal to be out. And his place has been taken in the squad by Dhananjaya De Silva. A welcome return. I'm very happy to see him back. I think that the selectors have not really given him a fair shot. They dropped him way too quickly, I think. If he had been afforded the same patience that they've afforded Kusal Mendes, then I think that they would be a lot better off. But he is back for this one, and he will now compete with Danushka Gunatilaka for that spot. It would either be Gunatilaka to open with Karunaratne, and then Upul Taranga would drop down to 4, the band-aid of Sri Lanka cricket, Upul Taranga, or it would be Dhananjaya De Silva to slot into the middle order, and obviously the openers would remain as Taranga and Karunaratne. For me, whatever happens, this is just a stopgap, a one-off selection. So you might as well pick a guy with test experience, 9 tests in fact, to his name, Dhananjaya De Silva. Also, don't disrupt the batting lineup too much by making Taranga move down. Gunatilaka has been in good form. He got a 70-odd in the warm-up game against India, but I just think giving him his debut now for just one game, it's not ideal. I think you might as well put in a guy with test experience who can also bowl a little bit of handy off spin and has shown that he can take a wicket or two in Test cricket. So hopefully we do see Dhananjaya De Silva in the team. The other changes to the squad see Dushmantha Chamira, he drops out, and Nuwan Pradeep is back from injury. Good to see Nuwan Pradeep back. Definitely being Sri Lanka's best bowler across formats for the last 18 months. I think that you could argue whether it was Vishwa Fernando or Dushmantha Chamira to miss out, but I feel like in Lairu Kumar, you have a very similar bowler to Dushmantha Chamira, a tearaway. Dushmantha Chamira has been very underwhelming at the end of the day since his comeback. He only took 1 wicket at Port Elizabeth against South Africa, and he only took 1 wicket in the 4 ODIs he played against Zimbabwe. So he's still not back to his best, although he did pick up some of his pace back against Zimbabwe. So hopefully he can get back to the Hamilton Chamira, but for now, I like keeping Vishwa Fernando. India's batting has a lot of right-handers. He's a left arm. It provides a little bit of variety, and besides, I don't think at Galle that Sri Lanka will be looking to play a lot of seamers in any case. So really, I don't think it matters in the grand scheme of things. The final one, definitely contentious. Lakshan Sanakam dropping out for Malinda Pushpakumara. Now, Malinda Pushpakumara has been a great performer in first-class cricket for over a decade. Yes, we know that the standard is not great and the pitches are so in favour of spin. But at the end of the day, he has over 500 wickets at an average of less than 20 in first class cricket. So he must be doing something right. And I think certainly the selectors would have looked at the plethora of right-handers in India's batting lineup and also the fact that Pushpakumara will at least provide you some control. Sandakan, the problem with Sandakan has been his control. I like him, and I think that he should have been given a proper run in the team. But if you're going to play only 2 spinners, I feel it's very risky to play him because he can get hit out of the attack. And then what do you do as a captain? You've really got very few options. And I think that this wicket will not be as spinner friendly as we saw in the Australia test last year at Galle because India are so good in the spin bowling department. I feel that Sri Lanka would be mad to put out a raging Turner. So I expect a pitch that is a good batting pitch for the first few days, but then deteriorates. And basically, Sri Lanka will just want to get lucky with the toss and bat first and hope that Rangan Herath can bowl them to victory in the fourth innings, as he usually does. So I think that if you're going to play two spinners, Sundercan probably not the ideal option. I think it's going to be interesting to see whether they go with the three spinners, which again, I don't think the pitch is going to be that conducive. So for me, it's between Pushpakumara and Dilruwan Pereira for that second spinner spot. Now, Dilruwan Pereira has been underwhelming with the ball for a while, I believe. I feel that he plays in favourable conditions, basically all his Test cricket, and he's a mediocre spinner. He doesn't really ever look that threatening unless the pitch is just ridiculously stacked in favour of the spinners. So I think maybe you could certainly give Malinda Pushpakumara a debut, although you do lose that batting prowess of Dilruwan Pereira. So I think that's certainly a dilemma for the selectors. I feel like this second spinner conundrum has been an ongoing issue, and really there's no clear solution to the problem. I hope that Lakshan Sandakan can go away and work on his control, because he certainly has a future in the team. Now, looking at Sri Lanka as a whole, this series the odds are really stacked against them. Like India, you would think are huge favourites to win all formats. Given the way Sri Lanka have performed recently, the fact that they almost lost to Zimbabwe in a test match, you'd think that they would really not have a chance against India. The only way Sri Lanka are going to win is Rangana Herath. He is the man to win them games. It's that simple. Herath has to take a hatful of wickets, otherwise Sri Lanka have no chance of winning. I mean, really, that has been the case for many years now, since Murali retired. It's really Herath or bust for Sri Lanka. So once again, that holds true. I'm looking at it. Can Rangan Herath vanquish the juggernaut Indian bowling attack? Gaul, we know what he can do, how many great performances he has had at Gaul. He's just an outrageous bowler in these kind of conditions, especially. And he's going to have to be at the forefront if Sri Lanka are going to win. And Sri Lanka are going to have to get a little bit of luck with the toss and bat first to allow Rangana Herath to bowl in the last innings. We saw on the last tour that India made to Sri Lanka in 2015 that Sri Lanka set a sub 200 target for India to chase, and Sri Lanka managed to win the game. Rangana Herath tearing through the Indian batting in the fourth innings. That is really the only chance that Sri Lanka have in this game. So it's that man, Rangana Herath. I'd like to see Nuwan Pradeep. I think instead of Suranga Lakma, I think Lakma was very underwhelming against Zimbabwe. I think Pradeep's got a little bit more pace about him, and I think he relies less on assistance off the pitch because he's more of a seam bowler. Lakma's a bit of a swing bowler, and I think that when you look at it, if you bowl good areas, even in Sri Lanka, you can get the ball to nip if you bowl well on it. So I think that Pradeep coming in will be good. Kumara, for that X factor, he can just get you a wicket. He's not going to be a guy to get 4 or 5 in these conditions, but just that one key wicket to break a partnership. I think that's what he should be in the team for. And then obviously the spinners. It's Herath and whoever's going to support him. And then either Dhananjaya or Gunatilaka to offer a little bit of a part-time option. But really, as I said, it's all on Rangana Herath. The batting, look, really, the batting is under a lot of pressure. Dimuth Karunaratne, is this the final straw for him? He has been very mediocre for a long time, and I feel like finally, if he fails in this one, surely he won't get another chance. He always seems to, in the last innings, you think, oh, this is his last chance. He always seems to make a score to keep his place in the team. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure he's good enough. And in fact, I'm definitely sure he's not good enough. And against Ravichandran Ashwin, I can't see much for him. I think Upularanga as well will struggle against India's high quality spin. Really, for Sri Lanka, someone just has to stand up. Big pressure on Kusal Mendis. He's been Sri Lanka's best test batsman for the past year. Angelo Matthews has to stand up. He's been very poor in his last 2 years of test cricket. His last test century came the last time that India toured Sri Lanka. He hasn't got one for 2 years. He averages 29 in his last 14 test matches. That's unacceptable for the supposed premier batsman in the team. Hopefully now that the pressure of the captaincy is off, he can start to deliver. Asela Gunaratne, Niroshan Dikvala showed good signs against Zimbabwe. They need to continue that, to play their cricket. Dick Vella, that fearless brand that he plays, it's okay if sometimes he gets out to a bad shot. That's just the way he plays, and I think that Sri Lanka kind of have to accept that at the moment when they've got guys who are still in the very early stage of their career. They need to give them the freedom to express themselves, to bet into the team. So Dick Vella just needs to play the way that he plays. Asela Gunaratne, the Iceman, hopefully he can continue to surprise and impress people, and also a handy option with his off cutters to maybe get a wicket or two to break some partnerships. But that is really the batting situation for Sri Lanka. It's under severe pressure, and the odds are that India is going to run through them in a lot of innings in this tour. But I just hope that someone stands up. I really hope that someone stands up and is counted. A few changes in the coaching staff. Chaminda Vas has been appointed the bowling coach for this tour, and Ashan Tilakaratne has been appointed the batting coach. So it's good to see some help coming in from very experienced, quality players from Sri Lanka's past. This is what they need. They need some input from experts because I feel that Nick Potas, at the end of the day, he's a fielding coach. Can he really provide enough expertise to the all-round game to improve this team? I don't think so. So bringing in these two to assist the fast bowling and the batting, I think, is great. Chaminda Vas was so good in very unhelpful conditions in Asia, one of the best bowlers ever to bowl fast in Asia. And Hashan Tilakaratne was a batsman who built innings expertly. He was very patient and knew how to grind the opposition out. So I like the profiles of these two coaches. Hopefully they have enough time to put their imprint on the team. It's about building partnerships, building innings, and building pressure with the ball. You can't blast people out in Sri Lanka as a fast bowler. It's about building pressure and even building pressure for the spinners, because usually the fast bowler is that release for the batsman. If the fast bowler is building pressure, and then you've got Rangan Herath at the other end, that's usually going to be very difficult to play. So hopefully those two can make an imprint, as I said. I don't have high hopes for Sri Lanka in this series, but I just hope that they show that fighting spirit, that they don't just crumble, and that they put up a really good fight. I just want a good fight from them. They don't have to win the series. I just want to see constant improvement, a good attacking mindset, and giving it their all. That's really all you can ask for. As for India, now there's been some movement as well in the coaching department for India. The absolute shambles with the consultancy roles has seemingly ended. Ravi Shastri has confirmed that Rahul Dravid and Zaya Khan will be on board as consultants. Now, first we heard that they were on board, then the next day there was a U-turn and the BCCI said, oh, it was just a recommendation, not an appointment. But now Shastri has confirmed that yes, it was an appointment. So there you go. Rahul Dravid and Zahir Khan are on board for India as consultants. Again, vastly experienced world-class players. I'm sure that they will provide great expertise to the Indian team. Bharat Arun has been named the Indian bowling coach, and Sanjay Banga has been named the assistant coach on the recommendation of Ravi Shastri. So it looks like the coaching staff has finally been sorted out, and hopefully the mess, the confusion that the BCCI created, hopefully that is all over. It's going to be interesting to see the start of the second reign of Ravi Shastri with Virat Kohli at the helm. For India, they made some changes to their squad as well from the home summer. Now, interestingly, they've dropped Karun Nair, and Rohit Sharma has come back from injury. Remember, he did not play after the New Zealand series. Karun Nair, he scored that amazing triple century against England, but then he did not have a good time of it against Australia and has found himself out of the team now. I think you could argue it's a little bit harsh that Karun Nair has been left out of the squad completely, but perhaps as well he didn't have the best IPL, and in general I think perhaps Rohit Sharma, the experience, the reputation of Rohit Sharma coming into play here. To be fair to Rohit Sharma, he did score 350s in that series against New Zealand, although he hasn't scored a test century since his debut series. He scored back-to-back tons against the West Indies in 2013. Since then, has not made a test century. So there are definitely question marks about Rohit Sharma's ability at the test level. And honestly, I don't know if he'll even play. because you look at India's team, they could well go with the five batsmen, and then they have Ridhiman Saha and the five bowlers. I think that may be the way they go. So we might not even see Rohit Sharma in any case. Hardik Pandya also getting rewarded for his good potential that he has shown in limited overs formats. I still think he's not quite there as a test player, still a bit of a bits and pieces all round to be considered a test player, but certainly there's potential. He bowls quick seam up. He could certainly be a Ben Stokes sort of impact bowler who's not going to take bags every time, but he's that guy who can nip out a wicket. And with the batting, we know how explosive he can be. I think definitely we're yet to see his technique be tested, and that is certainly something that we have to look at to see if he's a test batsman. But I think having him in the squad is the good idea. I doubt he'll play, but certainly one that India can look to in the future. Now, both of India's first choice openers will not play the first test. Murali Vijay, who has had some ongoing wrist problems, he is out of the tour, and you have KL Rahul, who's been down with the fever, and he's been ruled out of the first test. So India's two frontline openers are out, and it's going to be Shikhar Dhawan and Abhinav Mukund to open the batting for India. So two left-handers for India. Now, Shikhar Dhawan has not been able to replicate his one-day form in the test arena. Although, to be fair to him, I feel like if he's going to get runs, I think Sri Lanka, where the ball isn't going to nip around for the fast bowlers, it's difficult to bowl that way in Sri Lanka. It should be a good opportunity for him to get some runs at the test level. Also, being a left-hander, it's going to be a bit easier for him to play Rangana Herath. And to be fair, he has struggled against the short ball in Test match cricket. Lairu Kumara can certainly deliver a short ball, so he will be tested. But this is definitely a good opportunity for him. Abhinav Mukund, he looked awful in the Test match that he played against Australia, and he got a golden duck in the tour match here. So really, the signs are not great, although at the end of the day, he's fourth choice. Now, I see him only playing this game and then KL Rahul coming back for the second one. I think Sri Lanka will certainly breathe a little sigh of relief there that India's batting is slightly weakened. I don't think Mukund, from what I've seen, is a test batsman, but he gets another opportunity here. You feel like this is his last chance. Salute for him. If he flops here, I'm not too sure he'd be in future India squads. As for the rest of the batting, we all know how good that 3-4-5 is. I mean, Cheteshwar Pujara, Virat Kohli, and Ajinkya Rahane, that is absolutely loaded. Ridhiman Saha has also been in the runs recently. He's improved his batting a lot. He was excellent against Australia. Ravichandran Ashwin had a little bit of a quiet patch with the bat. I still think outside Asia, playing those five bowlers with Ashwin at 6 and 7 is not a strong enough batting lineup. But I feel they're still in the subcontinent where speed is dominant and the pitches should be good for batting early on. So I feel they can back those five batsmen and then the rest of the batting to sort of chip in. So I see India playing five bowlers in this one. Ravindra Jadeja, he got 650s in the home summer, so his batting is also really coming along nicely. And then, of course, even in the bowling stocks, you have guys who can hold the bat. I look at definitely Ahmed Shami and Umesh Yadav. They can certainly hit a long ball and frustrate you at the end with a couple of sixes. So really, I like India's batting. They look very good. They look very ominous. I think certainly the opening batting is a bit of a concern for them. I wonder whether either of these two are really going to be long-term players. I feel like both of them are playing for their spots in this tour. But the rest of the batting is fantastic. And we know that by having that great batting in the middle there, they can afford to play five bowlers in Asia. And I think that's what they're going to do. You're going to see Ravichandran Ashwin, you're going to see Ravi Jadeja, you're going to see Kuldeep Yadav, and then you're going to see the pace bowlers. They've got four pace bowlers on tour. I don't see Bhuvaneshwar playing at Gaul. Bhuvi usually plays as a horses for courses type selection in Test cricket. I can't see this being a match where he's suited to the conditions. And then I look at Ishant Sharma. He was poor against Australia. Let's not mince any words. He was very... I thought, to be fair to Ishant Sharma, he was a bit unlucky, but he didn't take wickets at the end of the day. If you look at him compared to Umesh Yadav, Ishant Sharma just didn't take wickets against Australia. And there was a lot of plays and misses. And I feel that Ishant Sharma ultimately has never really quite developed from that young 19-year-old really troubling Ricky Ponting at his best. He's played 77 test matches. He's got 218 wickets at an average of over 35. I feel like he could have done better. I feel like Ishant Sharma has left a bit in the tank. And I don't think you should play this. I think India's best two fast bowlers are Mohammad Shami and Umesh Yadav. Umesh Yadav took 30 wickets in the 12 tests that he played in the home summer. Now, obviously, they don't seem very flattering, but bear in mind, these pitches were not helpful for fast bowlers. Umesh Yadav bowls 140 plus. He swings the ball, reverse swing. So does Mohammad Shami, 140 plus. He swings the ball, gets reverse swing as well. And Mohammad Shami actually has the best average of all the Indian fast bowlers, except for Bhuvaneshwar. But Bhuvaneshwar only plays in conditions that really suit him. But Mohammad Shami, an average of 32 in 21 tests, is certainly very, very good for an Asian fast bowler. And it's good to see him back. Obviously, he played the last few ODIs against West Indies. He's had that troublesome knee that kept him out of the Australia series. So it's good to see Mohammad Shami back. I think him and Umesh, they bowl fast, they can bowl bounces, they can swing the ball, reverse swing. They're the whole package in Asia, in my opinion, and they will certainly be a real threat to Sri Lanka. If you compare the two teams, India has the better batting lineup, and India has the better bowling, and India is a better fielding unit, better running between the wickets. They're a fitter team. They're just better across the board. There is no question about who is the superior team. As I said, the only chance Sri Lanka have is to bat first and give Rangan and Herath something to bowl with. It is all about Herath. And the problem for Herath is that India's got some ridiculously good spinners for Asian conditions. I mean, you look at Jadeja, how good he is to both the left and the right-handers. You look at Ashwin, how good he is, relentless in these conditions. Kuldeep Yadav had a great debut against Australia. He's performed well in the ODIs. He's played that Chinaman X-factor option, certainly looks to have a bit more control than Lakshan Sandakan. India's spin bowling is stacked, but Sri Lanka just have to get lucky with the toss and hope that Herath has a little bit more magic left in him. But yes, that is my preview for the series. I believe that India will win this series. It's going to be very interesting to see how much of a fight Sri Lanka can put up. The first test starts tomorrow at Galle, and after that test is done, I will be reviewing it. Now, on to the final item of today, and that is the England versus South Africa third test preview. We've had a bit of a break in between the second and third test, and there's been some changes. England have changed their squad quite significantly. Tom Westley has been drafted in as a direct replacement for Gary Ballance at 3, and it appears that he will slot in to make his test debut at 3. Tom Westley, 28 years old, Essex player. He's got 300s in his last 6 first-class innings. He's a right-hander, and he has been given the keys to that number 3 position. Give him a chance. He's got 5 tests to bed in ahead of the Ashes, so it's going to be interesting to see how he goes. Gary Ballance, obviously not technically dropped, although you felt that really his time was very close to up. This is his third spell in the team, and he's still not proven himself as an out-and-out batsman at test level. I think this may be the last we see of Gary Ballance, obviously ruled out with a fracture to his left index finger. I think this was a case of a really nice timing for England. I think that Gary Ballance has not proved himself. He has not lived up to his start in Test cricket. He looks very average at the crease. He doesn't move his feet. He gets caught on the crease. Philander just has his way with him. I think this might be the last we see of Gary Ballance in an England uniform. Hopefully, we'll see Tom Westley do a good job. The other change in the squad, Dawid Malan, he has been brought into the squad. And I think that if he does make his test debut, it'll be at the expense of Liam Dawson, another player who I've said is a passenger in this team, Liam Dawson. I said that they might as well play an extra batsman because Liam Dawson is the 6th bowling option in this team. Adds very little. I think you're better off playing an extra batsman, and I think England should play that extra batsman in this game at the Oval. It would mean that Moeen Ali drops down to 8, which is kind of outrageous. But what I would like to see from this is perhaps Ben Stokes. Maybe we could see Ben Stokes move up to 5. Moeen Ali could go up to 6. And then, actually, no, that wouldn't work, would it? No, Dawid Malan would probably come in at 5. So perhaps we could see Stokes at 6, Bairstow at 7, Moeen at 8. Because I think Bairstow is better at 7 than he is at 5. I think that's a better position for him. So I think it would help the batting in a number of ways, bringing in Dawid Malan. The interesting one was that Mark Stoneman did not get picked. I thought that he would be the one to replace Tom Westley. Not to replace Tom Westley, to replace Gary Ballance. He's been excellent in the county championship since moving from Durham to Surrey. He's got 3 centuries this season. He averages 58. He's been really good. It's surprising, but Tom Westley, to be fair to him, also has the weight of runs behind him. and the last 100 he made was in the tour game against South Africa, so perhaps that was crucial. Also, Trevor Bayliss has not seen Mark Stoneman bat, so perhaps that was telling in Tom Wesley's selection. The other possible change for England would see Toby Rowland-Jones make his debut. So we could see 3 debutants for England here, amazingly. And he would come in for Mark Wood, who again has been a passenger, has not been at his best, for sure. And to be fair, though, whoever they play is just a stopgap for Chris Wokes, because whoever plays, they're just going to drop out for Chris Wokes at the end of the day. So I feel like they should just pick whoever they think is going to do the best job in that one test. Don't look at the future, none of this. It's a very short-term selection. Who is going to give you the best chance for success? The way Mark Wood is bowling, I would think Toby Rowland-Jones. So there could be 3 debutants for England in this one. The other passenger who has retained his place is Keaton Jennings. Now, personally, ahead of the Ashes, I know that Haseeb Hameed has not really had the weight of runs behind him recently, but I would have looked to either give him a chance, also noting that the West Indies are due to come, so perhaps that's a good time to bet him in, or even Mark Stoneman to open, because Mark Stoneman at the end of the day is an opening batsman. So I would have liked to have seen one of those two come in for Keaton Jennings, although I do understand how many changes can you really make. I certainly feel that Keaton Jennings will have just these 2 next games in the South Africa series to make an impression, and if he fails again, I think certainly someone else, probably the Mark Stoneman or Haseeb Hameed, will be given the chance against the West Indies team before the Ashes. But England, they're in a bit of a mess, a lot of changes. I think it's a little bit harsh, the criticism that they've got. They have been up and down recently in Test cricket, and they have actually lost quite a few of their last Test matches. I believe they've lost 7 of their last 10 Test matches. And to me, I look at them, the biggest thing for me in England's team is the application of their batsmen. I feel like in general, their fearless approach to one-day batting, which has been fantastic in the one-day game, has kind of seeped into their Test batting. And there's been a lot of cases where the batsmen have just folded and offered very little resistance in all of these losses, to Bangladesh, to Pakistan back last summer, to South Africa now, to India. The batsmen have really struggled to bat time. A lot of them are aggressive players. I think there needs to be a balance, though. You need to play the situation. Yes, you can't be inhibited and negative. You want to go out to score, but at the same time, there's a line that crosses to recklessness, and I feel like England have crossed that line way too often. They need to show better application to build innings and give themselves time. They didn't even bat 100 overs in the last test. That's unbelievable. You're not going to win Test matches batting like that. So certainly they have to adopt a different mindset to their Test batting, England, if they want to be successful, if they want to have a chance in the Ashes. Because at the moment, things aren't looking particularly positive for their chances in the Ashes. So that is the biggest thing that England need to work on. South Africa, it looks like Kagiso Rabada will come straight back in for Dwan Olafia. He was very underwhelming, certainly just a backup bowler for South Africa. Kagiso Rabada has served his suspension, and now he's back. Great to see him back. Such a fiery competitor, a fantastic bowler. Adds a little bit of depth to the tail as well, an already very deep tail. So South Africa will certainly be all the more stronger. Faf du Plessis, obviously, back at the helm, which makes things all the better for South Africa. With him at the helm, they just seem to have this aura about them. There's a case of almost they intimidate oppositions, I feel, with Faf, that aggressive captaincy. He can make very surprising, unexpected moves, can certainly put off the opposition, I feel. So I think they've got a great thing going with Faf du Plessis as captain. Looking at their team, it's looking good now. Their tail is very nice. They can really afford to play Chris Morris as an all-rounder, and they don't have to play Tenders de Bruin as a batsman. They only have to play really the five batsmen, the keeper, and then 5 bowlers, sort of like India do, because they've got Chris Morris as an all-rounder. Vernon Philander has played like an all-rounder, certainly in this series. Kagiso Rabada and Keshar Maharaj can certainly get you a 20 or a 30 as well. Even Morne Morkel can hang around. So they've got real depth to their batting that allows them to play the extra bowler, which is a great advantage, obviously, because it gives you that flexibility if things aren't going well. And your bowlers, your 4 frontline bowlers don't get run into the ground if you have to bowl a lot of overs. You have that extra option to keep the bowlers a bit fresher. So South Africa, the team composition looks good. Interestingly, JP Duminy has been told to go home. Aiden Markram is staying on with the squad. Now, I don't think he'll play, but certainly it seems like he's there to just experience the environment, what it is to be like in and around the international camp. JP Duminy, obviously, long time coming. He's axing. I feel that his test career should be over now. He's 33 and he's been poor for most of his test career. There's been a smattering of nice scores, but for the most part, he has been poor. And I feel like this should be the end of his test career, just like it should be the end of Gary Balance's test career. But certainly Haido Kun did enough in the last game, I think, to warrant his selection for this game. He made a really gritty 34 in the first innings to make sure that South Africa were only one down at lunch. It was a brave decision, remember, by du Plessis to bat first under overcast conditions at Trent Bridge with some green on the pitch. And South Africa only lost one wicket in that first session. They didn't score a rate, but that set them up for success in that match. So definitely I think Haido Kun has earned a spot in this next game. South Africa, I would say, are the favourites going into this one. When you consider they absolutely smashed England the last game, England making a lot of changes. I feel like they'll have at least 2 debuts. And there's also big question marks over Keenan Jennings still. Then South Africa have added Kagiso Rabada in for Dwan Olafia. So I think that South Africa certainly hold the edge here, and they really should look for revenge. Obviously, England won the last test series between these two in South Africa 2-1. So I think South Africa will be looking to exact revenge and win this series, and certainly winning this test here at the Oval would go a long way to doing that. That match starts on the Thursday. Again, a very interesting game. And as always, I will review the game once it is over. But that is it for the podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, you can check it out. We're on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube. All those links can be found on the Twitter page. As I said at the start, tomorrow I'll be doing the 5 things we learned from the ICC Women's World Cup 2017, which will include my analysis of the final. It was a fantastic tournament, and this is certainly going to be a big podcast, so I hope you can tune into that. But as always, thanks for listening, and I'll see you later.